Lillahi ta'ala. Okay. The author says here, Ibn Hisham in the Arabic, وَيُجْزَمُ أَيْضًا بِلَمْ نحو لم يلد ولم يولد ولما نحو لما يقض وباللام واللت طلبتين نحو لينفق ليقض. I think we read this part. لا تشرك لا تؤاخذنا. So he says here, under number 2, operated on by lam, such as lam yalid wa lam yulad. So it's not direct translation there. The translators are making some, taking some permissions for a format that they want to keep. But and it's clear though. He says operated on by lamma, such as lamma yaqul, and they're going to keep repeating operated on, operated on, operated on. And the Arabic doesn't say that. Well, yujzamu says one time there. Bilam, walamma, wabilam. So lam, the meaning of lam is flipping the mudari' into the past. So that's a significant change in meaning, since the mudari' by its sigha is for the present or future, and the Arabic already has a sigha for the past, which is al-fi'l al-madi. So when you say lam yalid, it means ma walad, ma walada. Lam yalid means ma walada. Yani lam yakun means ma kana. Walam yulad. Lamma has the meaning of negating the past up until the present, so it means yet. Lam can negate the past to the present, or it can be broader. Lam has broader scope than lamma. And the lam, he called it here lamul talab, and the la also lit talab. So bilami walat talabatain nahu liyunfiq. So that lam is lamul talab. That's a jazm. That's not harf jar. That's not like li tubayin. Li tubayin. Li tubayina. Liyunfiq is not like li tubayina. Different lambs and then different outcome. Because one lamb is a jazima, the other lamb is a harf jar, and the verb is mansub by an mudmara. If that's not clear, let me know, please. Liyaqub and la tushrik, la tu'akhidna. Okay, so I think that's clear. And he says here in the translation, operated on by the imperative lam, lamul talab, such as liyunfiq and liyaqudi, or operated on by the la of prohibition, la NaHw. So Ibn Hisham doesn't say that. That's true. That is la NaHw. But Ibn Hisham, rahimahullah, he groups the lam and la together under one name, at-talabatain or at-talabatan. The lam on its own is lamul amr. They called it imperative lam. And the la on its own is lan nahiyah. So that's true. So it diverges a lot from the words of the author for my personal tastes as a translation. It's not very, very far. And also for your information, لينفق, this ayah, لينفق ذو سعة من سعته ومن قدر عليه رزقه فلينفق مما آتاه الله. Let the wealthy one spend from his wealth on his wife. That's about spousal support. Let the wealthy one spend from his wealth, and anyone whose sustenance is tight, then let him spend from whatever Allah gave him. So from this ayah, Ash-Shafi'i, he says that the wealthy man is obligated to support his wife like a wealthy person, as a wealthy person. I mean, to give her the lifestyle of the wealthy people in terms of the lodging and the food and the clothing. And the poor man is obligated to support his wife like a poor man in those terms. And the middle class man is obligated to support his wife like a middle class person. All of that, according to not merely being wealthy or middle class or poor, but being a good Muslim. The wealthy, good Muslims. And the middle class, good Muslims. And the poor, good Muslims. Yes. لِيَقُضْ. That's the ayah in Surah Az-Zukhruf about the kuffar in hell begging Malik to ask his Lord to make them die. قالوا يا مالك ليقض علينا ربك. O Malik, let your Lord make us die. قال إنكم ماكثون. He says, you are here to stay. And he says that after 1,000 years of not responding to them. La tushrik. That's Luqman's advice to his son when he was lecturing him. And La tu'akhidna, that's the dua of the believers at the end of Surah Al-Baqarah. ما يجزم فعلين ويجزم فعلين إن وإذ وما وأي وأين وأنا وأيان ومتى ومهما ومن وما وحيثما. The translation says imperfect verbs, operators that affect the jussive mood in two verbs. The operators that affect the jussive mood in two verbs are in. And then they brought the example up. Like in yasha yudhibikum. Whereas Ibn Hisham, he listed them first and then started the examples. إذما أي أين أنا أيان متى مهما من. Like, so then Ibn Hisham has examples here. Mahma man and ma and haythu ma. So Ibn Hisham's examples are إن يشأ يذهبكم من يعمل سوءا يجز به ما ننسخ من آية أو ننسها نأتي بخير منها. Okay, yes. And you will notice all of these are, not all of them, some of them, many of them are asma. As for in is a harf. Well, I'll stay on the Arabic side here. In is a harf. إذ ما we talked about that one. That one, yeah. So they differed about that one. Izma. If you remember here, let's take a quick scroll up. Yeah, al-huruf. He says here, وَلَيْسَ مِنْهُ مَهْمَا وَإِذْمَا. Mahma and idma are not huruf. He said that to signal to difference in opinion there. In wa idma. Yeah, so idma is ism. In is a harf for short. Idma is ism. Originally is id, and then ma attached to it. And Ibn Hisham is taking the saying that the attachment of ma does not take this word out of being a noun. Wa ayyun, and you'll notice here, out of all of these, as the translator puts it, operators, ayyun is the only one that is mu'rab amongst the asma. The rest of them are mabni. And ayyun is mu'rab because has the meaning of idafa, of mudaf, that is, of mudaf. So you can bring a mudaf ilayhi. You say ayyu shay'in. And idafa itself is amongst the particulars of the nouns. So because of being so grounded in the being a mudaf, it came actually mu'arab altogether. And there's a way to make it mabni. You're going to say, we'll need to review that. If you make it mabni, you're going to take the tanween away. Then what would it mean? How does that work? We'll have to review that there. But just as far as this method is concerned and what we are involved in, then that's sufficient information. Oh, وَأَيْنَ, where? وَأَنَّا, أَنَّا means أَيْنَ and means كَيْفَ. وَأَيَّان also, and أَيَّان means meta, when. أَيَّانَ مُرْسَاهَا, when shall it commence? وَمَتَى is when. وَمَهْمَا is whatever. And man is whoever. And ma is whatever. And haythu ma is wherever. And what some of the scholars said is the origin of all of this in meaning is in, if. And everything else here is like incorporating the meaning of if, but adding another meaning on top of it. If meaning the meaning of shart, condition. So all the rest of them, they are keeping the meaning of condition and adding another element of another layer of meaning. So when you say aina, as a shart, then it's like you're saying wherever, as if you're saying if someplace, if in some place. So you say أينما تجلس أجلس, as if you're saying if you sat somewhere, I'll sit there. And you say متى تجلس أجلس, ومهما تفعل أفعل, ومن يقم أقم معه. Yeah. هكذا. Now it says here, let's continue in the Arabic here. ويسمى الأول شرطا والثاني جوابا وجزاء. The first verb is termed the condition, while the second is termed the consequence, jawab or jaza. So what I know, not jawab or jaza, it's jawab and jaza. There's two meanings. The jawab is the response, and the jaza is the reciprocating or the consequence. Yes, okay. Those two different meanings. And this is how I know it, that both of them, not either or. Okay. In Arabic, you have something called jawab. Jawab, as you know, means an answer or a response, but has a broader application. Jawab, the Arabic word jawab, has a broader application than what I'm aware of the English word answer or the English word response. Because you say, Wallahi la af'alanna kada. Wallahi la af'alanna kada. I swear to God, I will indeed do such and such. So, all of this, la af'alanna kada, is the jawab. Wallahi is the qasam, the swear. So in Arabic, a swear has an answer, if you want to translate it that way. Maybe there's a better way to translate it. And you say, for example, ta'alo, come, atlu, I will recite. Ta'alo, atlu. So ta'alo is what? Fi'l amr. And atlu is jawab. So if you want to translate it that way, you're going to say it's the answer to the command. So that's what they say. They call it in Arabic jawab. Now, I find the word response easier. In my own mind, I find the word response here easier. I would say, like they say, when you say, Wallahi la af'alanna, this lamb, they call it al-waqi'atu fi jawab al-qasam. Al-waqi'atu fi jawab al-qasam. What falls in response to a swear. So I find the word response is a little bit easier to fit there than answer. Falls in response to a swear. It's just in my own mind, though. Okay. As for su'al having jawab, that's easy. As-su'al wal jawab. Question and answer. So, ويسمى الأول شرطا والثاني جوابا وجزاء. وجزاء, and remind you here too. جزاء, there's no alif written after the hamza here. Jaza'an, for the nasb. Uh, because the old Arabs didn't used to write it there. The old Arabs, they didn't used to write the alif here, nor the hamza even, because the hamza is an innovation also. The hamza itself is an innovation. And as for the alif, they wouldn't write it. So for the old Arabs, had they written that alif there, they would have written Jim, Zay, Alif, Alif. Without dots, without harakat. They didn't want to write it this way. So then they just left out that second alif altogether. And they just said jaza. Then later, when the conventions were innovated, the dots and the harakat and the character for the hamza came out like that. Jaza, and they still would pronounce that alif, although they didn't write it.
Yeah, mashallah, yeah, that's something I learned a long time ago, I think, in Tajweed.
Yes, I remember Hajj Ali taught it to me.
SubhanAllah.
MashaAllah.
But it's good to know, it's good to understand the why of it, though. I didn't know why. I just noticed how you read it. MashaAllah. Jazakumullahu khayran.
Ameen wa iyyakum. So he says in the translation, the first verb is termed a condition, while the second is termed a consequence. They said jawab or jazat. So that or part, that's not how I know it. We can review. Maybe something is on my part, or maybe there's two ways to look at it. It says, وَإِذَا لَمْ يَصْلُحْ لِمُبَاشَرَةِ الْأَدَاةِ. Okay, a couple of before that, I just want to also point out something here. So what we're basically looking at here in the Arabic, what we're talking about here is complex sentence, what would be called in English complex sentence. Complex sentence meaning one sentence that has what? An independent clause and a subordinate clause. So the independent clause is, for example, when you say, if you were to say, I eat, period. That's independent clause. That's independent clause. Subordinate clause is like if you say, if you eat what makes that a subordinate clause is that although it technically contains a subject and a predicate, it cannot stand alone because of the introduction of the conditional particle there, which they don't call it a conditional particle in English. They actually call that a conjunction. So for myself, this also is another spot where the Arabic grammarians have explained the case with clearer words. Because when you look at it from Arabic perspective, that is not a conjunction. It's clearly not a conjunction. Rather, it is clearly a conditional particle. The English grammarians claim that it's a conjunction and what it's linking are the two clauses. There's two clauses here being linked by a conjunction in their claim. So, yani, I would say, and Allah knows best, qawlun da'if. That's a weak saying. In the Arabic, they're saying that that's a conditional particle that governs two verbs. First one and the second one. Governs two verbs. And we know from Arabic perspective, the verb itself is governing the subject. Because the verb that renders the subject marfu' and renders the object mansub, it's the verb that's acting on the subject and the object. The verb requires something marfu', so it's going to seek out a marfu'. I think that's clear. If you have a question, please ask. If you eat, I eat. Yes. Thought there was one other thing here. Yeah. One more thing here. So, the way they talk in English is they say this entire thing here. They call this entire thing here a sentence. And in particular, it is complex sentence. A complex sentence as opposed to a simple sentence or a compound sentence. They said there's simple sentences, compound sentences, and complex sentences. A compound sentence from Arabic perspective is just two sentences joined by conjunction. Complex sentence is this one. Now, where am I getting at? What am I getting at here? This is what they call the sentence, and they differentiate it between a sentence and what? And a clause. They differentiate it in English between a sentence and a clause. What is the clause? The clause is the subject and the predicate. The clause is the subject and the predicate. You eat and I eat. And the sentence is the sum. It is the meaning in the end, which is the complete meaning. So in English, a clause could not convey a complete meaning, like if it's a subordinate clause. A subordinate clause does not convey a complete meaning. And therefore, they're not going to call it a sentence, because sentence in their definition is going to be conveying a complete sentence, a complete meaning. So how does all this translate into Arabic? So usually we translate sentence as jumla. Usually sentence is translated as jumla. And so what is a clause? Clause is clause is jumla. That's more accurate. According to the way the Arabic grammarians define jumla, then a jumla is a clause. Then what's a sentence? If the sentence is not a jumla, what's the sentence? The sentence is what? A sentence is kalam. A sentence is kalam, actually. So when we investigate their definitions, not merely what's the standard way to translate these words back and forth, but the actual technical definitions offered by both parties, then sentence for the English grammarians amounts to kalam for the Arabic grammarians. And clause for the English grammarians amounts to jumla for the Arabic grammarians. Sentence. And the Arabic grammarians, they say a jumla might convey a complete meaning or it might not. In other words, a jumla could be kalam or it might not be kalam. Because if you say in ta'kul, that's a jumla for the fact that it contains a fi'l and a fa'il. But it's not kalam for the fact that it leaves the listener waiting, according to the way they say it. They don't say because it does not convey a complete meaning. They say because it leaves the listener waiting. Yeah, this studying the terminologies of these two languages was for me a good exercise in keeping the terms separate, and which helped me all in a broader sense in terms of the religious knowledge to keep things separate, not to mix things up. Because someone's tendency is going to be to mix the terminologies here. And in particular, they're going to explain Arabic language by English grammarian terminologies. And I think it's not going to get you the best result. So then Ibn Hisham says, وَإِذَا لَمْ يَصْلُحْ لِمُبَاشَرَةِ الْأَدَاةِ قُرِنَ بِالْفَاءِ نحو وَإِنْ يَمْسَسْكَ بِخَيْرٍ فَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ أو بإذا الفجائية نحو وَإِنْ تُصِبْهُمْ سَيِّئَةٌ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ إِذَا هُمْ يَقْنَطُونَ. So it says here, Bismillah, when the consequence cannot be operated upon directly by the operator, it is preceded by a fa, such as وَإِنْ يَمْسَسْكَ اللَّهُ بِخَيْرٍ فَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Or the إِذَا, which acts as a particle of surprise. إِذَا الْفُجَائِيَّةِ, such as وَإِن تُصِبْهُمْ سَيِّئَةٌ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ إِذَا هُمْ يَقْنَطُونَ. Okay, that's not bad translation there. وَإِذَا لَمْ يَصْلُحْ لِمُبَاشَرَةِ الْأَدَاةِ. When the jawab is not suitable, is not applicable to a particle that engaged the sentence, this conditional particle that engages the sentence. قُرِنَ بِالْفَاءِ, then the jawab will be associated with a fa. So he said kurina. Kurina bil fa means associated with. They said preceded by. So They didn't really translate it. And then they gave the example. وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ بِخَيْرٍ. So in, that's your conditional particle. Yamsaska is your fi'lu shart. What's called fi'lu shart. Where's jawabu shart? Jawabu shart is the entire sentence.
Yeah, Ustad,
Yes.
in the transliteration, he said, وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ Allah. He mentions Allah, the lafzul jalala.
I
And
knew
then,
something was wrong there. Yes. That's why I wasn't coming off my tongue easily there. Yeah, so they made a mistake there.
so that in that ayah, the name Allah is not mentioned there like that.
No, it's not there.
Okay.
That's how it goes. So, yes, actually, let's just back up a little bit. When you say here, إِن يَشَأْ يُذْهِبِكُمْ, so the i'rab is in حرف جزم والشرط شرطين, a particle of jazm and condition. يشأ فعل مضارع مجزوم على أنه فعل الشرط. This is the fi'l mudari' which is majzoom as fi'l shart, the verb of the condition. يذهبكم فعل مضارع مجزوم جواب الشرط as the response to the condition or the consequence of the condition. وكم, the ضمير كم is مفعول به. Okay, so that's summarized i'rab there. Same thing. من يعمل سوءا يجز به. يعمل فعل الشرط. يجز جواب الشرط. But sometimes the jawab is not the agent or the operator cannot control the jawab. It won't be able to control the jawab because of the jawab being an entire sentence. When that's the case, then this jawab needs rabit, a link, a tie. That rabit is either going to be the fa or it's going to be either. And so, yasha or وَإِن يَمْسَسْكَ بِخَيْرٍ فَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. If he touches you with good, then he is over everything powerful. So that fa is like then. If then. And you say al-fa. I'll review that. How do you call the fa here? واقعة في جواب الشرط. I don't remember. And then same thing for either here. They called it particle of surprise. Yeah, that's fine. I usually say suddenness. Particle of suddenness. Or either, yeah. So, هكذا. And by that he completed the talk about the jawazim. And now he's ready to move on to the next topic. An-Nakiratu wal-Ma'rifah. We should probably stop here. MashaAllah. Any question?
MashaAllah. But I think response is a good is
Uh,
a good the word response you use to translate some at times Joab. I think that's a good translation because in English style, even though you have synonymous words, I think the style to make it more um, I don't know, say eloquent, but to make it more robust. I think
yes.
the the best sometimes the best word to use is response.
Yes. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Hmm. Yeah. So in the ayah here, وَإِن تُصِبْهُمْ سَيِّئَةٌ بِمَا قَدَّمَتْ أَيْدِيهِمْ. And if a disaster befalls them for what, yani, for what they did to themselves, basically what it means. For what their hands have sent forward means what they did for themselves, what they brought upon themselves. إِذَا هُمْ يَقْنَطُونَ. Then suddenly, Sheikh Yahya in Baltimore, he's the one who suggested to me, we were in Lebanon together. Either here, he said, behold, ever since then I always say behold. Behold, they are hopeless. MashaAllah. طيب. Wallahu a'lam.
Barakallahu feek.
Ameen wa feek.